Hello again from the Horseshoe Lounge. We are at Roosters. It is a fun, casual joint, and this is a fun, casual conversation, the live show on the podcast. That is Jeremy Birmingham, Justin Zwick, Nicole Cox. I'm Austin Ward. Did we have a fantastic weekend? Jay-Z? I have to check on you every week now. A couple weeks ago it was roughy.
Well, yeah, it was a better weekend.
Yeah, all right.
I got to go out to New York Thursday for the New York Alumni Club.
Where at?
The Sea Wayne Club.
You know what my favorite New York
JFK.
city is? Schenectady. Just think it's a fun name to say.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, well, I don't know New York very well, so I don't know exactly where I was, but it was great. Met a lot of awesome Ohio State people. Brutus was there. Bobby and I flew out from Columbus.
Were you more excited to talk to Urban Meyer or Brutus?
You know what? It was actually nice talking to Urban.
What?
I think it was like maybe the first time.
Your name this time?
Well, I don't know if he remembered it, but I was with Bobby, so he figured he might know who I am. He did look a little strange when he asked me where I was from and where I graduated. I was like, Massillon. And I expected him to be like, oh, Massillon, the Tigers. And he just kind of looked at me like he had not heard Massillon before. I was like, yep, all right, well. No, but it was great.
You know where Devin Smith played.
Well, I know. I want to be like the guy who every time he caught a touchdown pass, you guys won a game. You know, that was my home school. But no, he did a great job. He was the guest of honor and spoke at the end of the night and actually made me stand up and introduced me there, too. So I was like, I think I might be... in the brain now as somebody that he knows.
Okay.
So I felt good about that. So went into the weekend on a high note. I know.
You must have played well to leave an impression.
Well, I did outdrive him. We played a couple holes with him. He hit a good one. Of course, the young buck stepped up.
Okay.
And, Bobby actually made a putt that hole. So we all three of us had a nice shot. I had the drive. Urban hit a nice shot in. Bobby made the putt.
Scramble.
Nice.
Yeah, so scramble. So started off there and then, working from an airport and traveling on Friday and 27 holes on Saturday.
That sounds
like won a couple bucks. So it was a good day.
That's a lot of holes of golf.
It was a lot of holes of golf.
I like 12 holes.
12?
I like 12.
Nicole.
After 12, I'm kind of like, all right.
No, 18's not enough. We always try and get on that course, play some extras. But yeah, it was a great weekend.
You know you could stop at 9. That's what the clubhouse for.
I know,
get 3
but
more
I'm
holes
always in a golf outing, So, but I always noticed by hole 12, I was like, oh. Man, I got a lot to do.
Sometimes those outings can take a little too long.
Yeah, I love scrambles, though. Like, I feel like anytime I go play golf, I'm like, can we just make it a scramble? Because, if everybody's hitting their own ball, I feel like I just hold up the team. So
just get into the 2-person scramble game, Nicole.
That's the way to go. That's the best game in the world.
The ideal format.
Yes, it is.
How was your weekend?
It was good. Nothing too crazy. Just, grown-up stuff.
Grown-up stuff?
Running kids, doing some yard work.
Graduation parties, I'm sure.
No,
you didn't have any to go to?
I'm kind of in that in-between.
It's still only
fair, but you still know people.
Kind of. I'm kind of in that in-between where no one's yet quite graduating. Yeah.
It's still only May 20th.
So I had one this Saturday night.
Didn't you have one?
Yeah.
I had a college graduation party last weekend.
Okay. They do that?
Well, not all the time, but this one of my nephews who graduated from college, and we just weren't sure.
You were so excited that he made it. Let's go. We're throwing a party.
We were not entirely sure he was going to get there, so yeah, we had one of those last weekend. But I was telling Nicole before we came on. Obviously, my stepdaughter has her graduation. My nephew Mason, my nephew Jackson, my niece Maggie, my nephew Isaiah all have graduation parties in the next 5 weeks. So it's going to be hectic.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah. The joy of having a large family. Other than that, I didn't do squat. I just prepared.
Just prepared? Prepared for what?
Prepared for...
More parties?
Preparing our house for the party.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's another thing.
Yeah.
That for graduation, my daughter said you can always tell when someone has a kid that's getting ready to graduate. She goes, "Oh, they're really sprucing up the outside."
It's
like
you get all the power washing done. You get the mulch down. You get
paint, all of it. Yep.
We're having a brand new backyard put in.
Yep.
Oh wow!
Got to get ready for the party
this week, Thursday and Friday. So
love it.
I thought we were going to do adult things this weekend, Nicole, and then at 11:30 on Saturday, Allie said, "Are the crew playing tonight?" And I said, "Yeah, they're in Chicago." And she's like, "Can we go to the game?" And I was like, "In Chicago?" And I was like, "Are you serious?" She's like, "Ask Liberty if she wants to go to Chicago." And I'm like, "Okay."
That's amazing.
And then we got in the car and we drove 6 hours to Chicago and we made it 30 minutes before kickoff.
You realize you have the greatest wife ever, right?
It was
amazing.
Unexpected.
I mean, maybe
love
crazy wife. I would have looked at my wife and said no.
But I didn't
But
want
why?
to.
But think about it. Like, why would you say no?
It's soccer.
Because if he would have had to stay home, he would have to do adult stuff around the house.
Other thing, she was like, "You're gonna have to go to Home Depot and get smoke detectors this weekend," and I was like, "Okay, cool." I hate Home Depot
I
more
don't care
than
if
any
the house
place
burns down. Let's go to the soccer game.
Yeah, the one that there's two that are working. I'm like, aren't we
Yeah,
okay?
one of them will catch
One's
it.
upstairs.
You
one's
can
in the
order
basement.
those on
We're fine.
Amazon, too, just so you know.
Thank you. That's good advice. So
Yeah.
I can avoid going.
I just
Wow,
ordered some.
what a trip.
And so we just fired that off.
I love that.
Yeah.
Did we win?
Yeah, 3-1.
All right.
Big weekend for
Let's
the crew.
go, crew.
That is so awesome. I love that you did
It
that.
was wild. And then we got back, and then Berm and I recorded the podcast daily, and we talked about guys who need big off seasons, Jay-Z. And I'm curious,
Oh, God.
because they're back. If you look at this team, could be a player, could be a unit.
Oh, it's a unit for me. I mean, I think that's
I'm gonna guess.
the most glaring one.
I'm going to guess. I've
It's-
heard offensive
It's the
line.
receiver room.
Oh, whoa, okay.
No, I mean, golly, I think the quarterbacks, I think the two guys who are, up for the job need to have a good offseason. We talked about it last week. I think just what they are able to do or how they're able to carry themselves throughout the summer to kind of have that leadership aspect to them and just showing the guys how they're working in the weight room and doing all that stuff and organizing the 7-on-7s. But no matter how good they are, it doesn't matter if those guys up front don't get it together. So I don't feel like we came out of spring with a great understanding of what exactly was going to happen right there in the middle, I guess. And, so I think, I don't know what those guys can do. I know it's a lot different when you throw pads on and you're, going against guys. So summertime for them might be a little bit harder, but they got to have a big stay healthy one. So we have everybody available. And then two, Mick will get them going in the weight room. I don't worry about that kind of stuff. It's just, I don't know if it's the mental aspect of knowing where they need to be or who's going where, just getting on the same page with everybody. But I also think not knowing who, those two guys are, center, right guard, kind of throw a wrench in that a little bit because you're not really sure.
Yeah.
You're going to be running through, guys through all summer long and just giving everybody reps. But, I think if those guys can stay healthy going into camp, I think they had a decent spring, They have experience after last year. Everybody's kind of back, so that's something that does carry a lot of weight because they just feel differently coming into all this stuff as opposed to being a first-year guy. Like, we've done this, we've been here, so hopefully that gives them that confidence mentally that they know they can do it. They just have to get on the same page with everybody. So I think that's the biggest.
When do you think, I just have a question from the perspective of just fans. When do you think the coaches have to make that decision on, first, who's the starting quarterback? And I understand what they're doing. They're trying to give guys reps to see who actually plays the best together and where that confidence is and that connection. But when do you think they have to absolutely make that position? Before camp or because when is camp?
Starts roughly August 1st.
Yeah. Okay. So when
I mean, quarterback wise, I think, golly, when we went through it last year, and it's by week 2 you hope to have an idea because then you have another 2 weeks of practice, or it went
weirdly
up to,
they have 3 weeks of no competition to start this year. So they could theoretically.
We kind of felt that last year, right? Hey, this might not be a bad thing. Let them get out into the real games and see what happens and figure it out before Notre Dame.
I like that idea too. Because that's totally different than just doing practice.
Yeah, I think the problem with that and the frustration looking back is that you could do that in theory if both guys are playing at a really high level, and that keeps the competition going. But that doesn't seem to be what actually happened with Kyle McCord and Devin Brown a year ago. Yeah. Maybe that will be different this year with Devin Brown and Will Howard, who both had really strong springs from what we saw from, 2 full practices, 5 viewing periods, spring game. Neither one of them played a ton in that spring game in the Horseshoe. Lincoln Keenholz had a pretty good spring as well. But I would think you generally hear coaches, Jay-Z, say you want to know by the middle of camp. You can do a week or 2 of competition and carry that over, from the summer. But then you need to start installing a game plan and getting ready to win games.
Yeah, I think if they go into camp, they got to be feeling like Will Howard's going to be the guy, just because of the experience that he's had. He's been through the fire. He's won a championship down at Kansas State. So he's been there. He's done it. You got to feel like they're probably leaning that way just because of the experience. He's a big dude. He can take a beating. He can run. They're kind of the same type of quarterback, in my opinion, that both can run and both do things, keep things alive. Maybe not the greatest passers, but that can come, as they get more comfortable in the offense, that'll come. Just the experience. So I feel like going into camp, they're probably all right, if he is where he was, And, we give him a week and a half, has a good scrimmage, first scrimmage or something along those lines. Maybe they make that call a little bit sooner. But, hey, if Devin Brown, who keeps fighting, he comes in and shows them, like, hey, I had a great summer. I'm the best option here. Then I think it would probably go 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, if he's pushing him more than they expected. But if not, I think it'd be a weekend of camp that they'd probably say, hey, this is going to be our guy.
When you're talking about a 3-man competition like the right guard, I think center's pretty well locked up. I think that's going to be Seth McLaughlin. But when you're talking about Carson Hinsman, Tegra Shabola, Luke Montgomery, the only thing you can really do, especially as an offensive lineman, like it's not like quarterback where you can go out and play 7-on-7 stuff. Or, like all you can really do is lift, right?
Yeah.
And be in there and
push a sled.
You get time with the coaches.
The sled.
You get some
lift and film. I guess
film time with the
be
coaches
the
if you want it, but like I don't know that you can find a real differentiator in that position this summer.
I agree.
Like I think maybe a guy can fall off, and you can know if their heart's not in it all the way. But as far as if they're going to be ready to be the guy come August 31st or whenever the season starts, is it August 31st against Akron? That's really what makes this next couple months, I think, difficult because it's just working out. And so is it human nature to be like, I got to go harder and harder, and then you end up hurting yourself? By the time camp rolls around, you're actually not healthy. Like I think there has to be a weird internal conversation. Like I need to study and lift, but I can't go crazy in the summer because all you're likely to do as an offensive lineman is tear a labrum, as opposed to actually getting yourself ready to compete. So, when you talk about which position group especially needs to step up, like those guys are all working together, but I don't know how much they can really prove
how much
in these
better
next
they
2 months.
get throughout
That's
the
a really
summertime.
good
You can prove it individually, but like I don't know that you can really prove it as a group. Or
group study, film study might be the best situation. Hey, we got this call, pull it up. All right, we got this front. Who's doing what? And then you just get. So it's every play you're up to the line of scrimmage. All right, we've been here. We know this, and we know what to do. We know who's going with me or who's going. I'm going from here up to here. The film study probably is the best for them in the summertime because you're doing one-on-ones, but no pads are on. I mean, that's just a waste of time, really, especially against this defensive line that we have.
What do you make of the fact that Carson Hinsman played center all last year? Like Tegra Shabola and Luke Montgomery both played guard and tackle, so they had a little bit more understanding of that responsibility at right guard, where Carson Hinsman had no understanding of that until spring. But yet he's the guy that was starting the spring game. Like, I don't know if that's just an experience thing. I don't know if that was a nod to him saying, hey, you fought through a really difficult time and could have left and all the other stuff. So I just think it's interesting to see how the coaching staff is actually going to approach this, and if Carson Hinsman is truly ready to be that guy, or if he's a little bit behind because he was not actually a guard.
Yeah, but
before.
To that extent, I think
Guard's easy, right?
Well, no, I don't want to. I don't mean that.
You heard it here.
I don't mean that. But as a center, you know what everybody else is doing, or you should know what everybody else is doing. I mean, Nick Mangold was our center, our sophomore, junior year. Nick, we good? Like we check with Nick, but he knew everything, what everybody was supposed to be doing. So to take a center and move him to right guard, I feel like it's going to be different.
But,
don't get me wrong, because you're not snapping, you're not, you don't have a lot of other stuff to do, but you should know what he's supposed to be doing.
But Hinsman only played center for 1 year of his life.
Well, so that's
and Nick Mangold is a Hall of Fame level center. So I just think it's.
I think those guys should know or do know what is going on with the rest of the offense.
The responsibilities are streamlined there. If you're going, I think, for a guard to go to center, you're adding snapping, you're adding line calls. Like that's a far more challenging, I think, move. If you've already done that at center, and Carson Hinsman had strong games and strong performances, not. He certainly struggled a bit late in the year, which is what has opened this door for Seth McLaughlin and other conversations at center. But now if you remove the snapping part, which he didn't really struggle with that, he was pretty consistent throughout the majority of the year. If you remove some of the calls and take some of that off your plate, we saw physically after winter and throughout spring, Carson Hinsman looking a lot different, a lot more mature, a lot stronger,
more guardy,
maybe. I mean. More starting caliber than he was perhaps ready for. And I don't think they rule him out entirely at center. He'd be the backup at maybe multiple spots potentially, but I think that's what I'm interested to see for Carson Hinsman. I think he's on your list. I can see it right there, Nicole. If you have another summer working with Mickey Marotti and Schlegs and all those guys, who knows how different that could look for him physically when you add 2 more months on top of that.
I agree. And remind me, guys, why at the end of the season he was in the right guard position?
He finished the year at center, and then he was
center.
benched in the Cotton
Bowl game.
Did not play.
Did not play in the Cotton Bowl, and they moved Matthew Jones over there and had Enoch Famahi out there at right guard, and Enoch Famahi is no longer on Ohio State's roster.
There was some discussion about that happening for the Michigan game, and it just ultimately didn't. And then there was a continued, I don't want to say spiral of a lack of confidence that was happening that led to them saying, maybe we needed to give Carson a break. And people misconstrued it because they thought it was something he said on a podcast, but that decision had been made prior to that. But not our podcast, by the way. We would never ask players to say anything controversial.
We are going to talk to a player on this week's podcast, though, if you want to stay tuned for that.
Teaser.
It's a teaser. You have to wait and find out, or
just look at the cover.
Or hit the fast forward version, or look at the cover.
Or look at the cover of the episode.
Yeah, since I didn't say that. Anyway, go ahead, Nicole.
No, I do. I'm like dying to like see the behind the scenes of just how the coaches watch the guys as they train. I think we talked about, was it Marvin Harrison that would stay after and just constantly practice. I just always look at kids like that. I look at servers in the restaurants, the ones that, see someone needs help and goes over and helps.
Even though it's not their table.
Yep.
That's right.
I just think little things like that are what make you stand out on and off the field. So I'm anxious to see where they end up putting him. I do think, because he was only in the center position for last season, right?
Yep.
I think that's a very, that's a lot of pressure to put them. If you haven't played that your entire career, I mean, that is kind of.
And he wasn't supposed to last year. Ohio State was expecting Luke Whippler to do that, and they were a little bit surprised when he went to the NFL with eligibility remaining. So, they've done this a couple times. Luke Whippler was in that situation before. It has been focused at center, where they've been surprised a bit and not able to maybe load up with veterans the way that they want to. And that shouldn't be overlooked. Like, that is a critical position. They start every single play.
They do. I mean, and if you could get him to fill in at guard, just having a new center who's only been here since January,
yeah.
So it might be somebody for him to bounce ideas off of. Hey, we're out here, like I'm seeing something. What do we do here? You played this position last year. It'd be nice to have that, extra acumen in the offensive line. Just for Seth to kind of bounce off of. So it'd be awesome, I think, if he could make that move. We need somebody to. I think Tegra played a little bit well in the spring game. The one drive there were a couple drives that he was in there. They moved the ball, and I think that was the first I had seen him at guard. But if Hinsman can do that, I think it's a home run.
Well, Byrne brought up the point about Carson Hinsman and playing guard, and that was notable. But I think it was just as significant that it felt like going into spring, Ohio State was adamant. Tegra Shabola is a tackle, whether he just because he just wants to be a tackle, whether he needs to play tackle, whatever justification it was. It's like, well, he's not in that guard mix. And then by midway through camp, you're like, well, he could be. And he's one of the more physically imposing players that Ohio State has on the offensive line. So I felt like that was probably, of the two, they're both notable, but Tegra being in the guard mix and playing well in the spring game felt more significant to me than Carson Hinsman.
All three, Luke Montgomery, Tegra Shabola, and Carson Hinsman, were top 75 prospects coming out of high school. Like, they were all highly recruited kids. It's just another reminder of how difficult life as an adjustment is on the offensive line. Like, it takes time to be there. All of them come from very unique situations where Tegra was a highly rated tackle. If you've ever spoken to Tegra Shabola, like, you realize he's not a demonstrative kid. He does also struggle sometimes with confidence, and you can tell, like, it took him a little time to get there. Luke Montgomery was not really sure if he was going to continue playing football until like his sophomore year, when all of a sudden he started playing on the offensive line, and then it's like, well, is he an interior guy? Is he a tackle? Is he a center? And like, his path was different. I mean, they've all had a rough road to get there, but Tegra, if you look at physical talent, he is an NFL type player. And so if you can get, and this is what we talked about this morning, like, is it someone stepping up, or is it other guys leveling off? And I like to think it's people stepping up because that feels better. But
Optimistic Burns.
I mean, that's all I am, is optimistic. So Tegra has the ability to be like a road grader, all Big Ten type player, but so does Luke Montgomery, and so does Carson Hinsman.
Well, to your point, though, Luke's just a young guy, right?
Yeah,
I mean, so
he's
it takes these guys time, and they're getting into a position where they're grown men that they're going against.
He's a true sophomore.
Yeah, I mean, he's a true sophomore, so I mean, it's going to take some time for him to get to where Mickey probably wants him. But then, that confidence will come with him. Hey, okay, I can run with these guys now.
Jay-Z, when you've talked about your experiences 20 years ago, 20-ish years ago.
Which year? Which year are you talking about? We want to be.
Well, I'm just talking about the summer
Was
portion.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not, and not when he was a.
No, it was 20, his recruiting
04,
class was 2020. Was 2002. So
Yeah, 02, 06.
We're the same. So it just made me feel really
We're
old when
just
you
old.
said that. But
Yeah.
that's real.
That's how that goes.
I'm 5 years older than both of you.
Time moves fast. We get
When you're
reminders
having
of that
fun.
all the time. Yeah. You didn't have coach's ability to hand you the script you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
You've talked about that a number of times on the show here, making sure that there was a loose one around that you could organize. For quarterbacks, they do have some level of organization now in the summer, so you don't have to put everything for 7-on-7 and throwing sessions together on your own and come up with probably not an entire script, but these moments for quarterbacks to try and establish leadership, presence, command, chemistry over the summer, how significant are they? I don't think they probably measure up to March and April in pads, but what can these guys get done over these next 2.5 months before they get back in pads in August?
Well, I mean, you're just going to be doing what you have to. I mean, it's not like when our sophomore year, Troy and I were in a battle, but we had seniors. And so it was you had Nuge, you had Simon Frazier, you had these guys who...
Oh, yeah, Craig still. I mean...
Well, no, he was gone by then.
Well, then that was
Well, I mean, going into 04. No, 04 was...
Well, you said your second year, so I'm thinking
Oh, sorry.
2003.
My red shirt sophomore year.
Right.
So
was
3
your
years
third
in.
year.
Yeah, sorry. But we had guys like that. So
live fact checking.
I
for
know,
your own-
golly, I'm sorry. It's 20 years ago, Berm. My mind's not as sharp as it used
I
to
didn't
be.
take as many hits as you did, so my memory's fine.
Fair. But
That's why he loves the offensive
But the
line.
leadership thing was all right, we have these, Nuge was an All-American kicker, and, Simon was a starter, and, so you want to be that guy because you want them to be looking at you. You want to be breaking down all the huddles. You want to be doing, but it was just kind of different that year because we were young guys, sophomores, and we had guys who were up there, and it was their turn, and so you kind of took a backseat to that, but we were still the ones, all you can do is you become best friends with your receivers for the most part. We would do that. And bring the offensive line up to Roosters, and we would sit out there, and we would have wings and beers,
Thanks,
and
JC.
so that was kind of like my deal. Like we'd do 7-on-7, all right, boys, because they were there doing whatever they were doing, and then we'd go hang out. But it's just getting into that where you're just around the dudes, and it's summertime, but you don't want to take that. You want to keep it going. You just want to keep things moving. So that's all these guys. Will's a senior. I mean, he's an older guy, so he'll probably take that role and not even think about anything else because he's been doing it for a couple years. He'll step right into it. Devin is that guy. He's been that guy since he's been here. Everybody looks at him knowing he's, a fierce competitor. He wants to do everything he can to help this team. So I think they'll just look at them, and it's just throwing. I mean, you're just out there doing what you can. You can't put pads on. You're not going to necessarily, you're going to be going hard, but it's not going to be anything like practice like you talked about. You just are getting in what you can, creating that atmosphere that, the team aspect of this thing throughout the summer when the coaches aren't really there, and you can maybe get away with having some more fun when you're out there and just making it lively. But it's to Burm's point, like there's not a whole lot you can do because you're not putting pads on, you're not getting that full feeling of somebody rushing at you or you're having to make moves in the pocket or that sort of thing. But
But leaders emerge.
They do,
and I think it's probably Ohio State. We've talked all offseason about how it's probably the most talented team in the country. Maybe not even a probably. I mean, you could almost objectively state that it is. But if you look at the departures from a year ago to now, there are significant leadership losses on this team. And aside from Cade Stover, who people will talk about and think about, but Julian Fleming as an Iron Buckeye leader, Chip Trainum, Tommy Eichenberg, Steel Chambers, there are actual major losses in the leadership department, and for a team that has a lot to prove and a lot of guys coming back, there are actually a number of players who are heading into their fourth year that are actually going to be vital this offseason as far as being a leader of the team and stepping up and not deferring to Tommy, not deferring to Cade. Like, someone else now has to do that. So whether that is, Jack Sawyer, who we've talked about a lot, whether it's Lathan Ransom, whether it is Will Howard, or even Devin Brown, who was probably still, despite the fact that Kyle McCord was the starter, I think most guys objectively would say that Devin was like the more of the leader of the quarterback room from a heart and soul perspective. And Emeka is back at wide receiver, which is vital because there's so many guys that haven't played. But this is actually a pretty important 2-month stretch for guys to see who. You can talk all the talk during winter and during spring ball when you're actually playing football and it's fun. Mm-hmm. But this next 2 months is not the fun part. So now you really figure out who's willing to lead on a team that has no excuses to not win a national championship.
And it can be weird, too, because I'll never forget going into our first meeting after the 03 squad left, and they had, 12 guys drafted? And we go into our first meeting, she's like, okay, Michael Jenkins isn't here, Chris Carter's not here, Craig's not here, Scotty Mack's not here. You just went down a list of, this room looks a lot different now, and It used to run a lot differently, and so you figure that out. But, it's a different feeling when you go to that first meeting. It's like, man.
I think it'd be so exciting.
Now, they have a lot of guys coming back, but you still did lose, some main guys in these rooms. And,
there's an opening.
It's pressure, too, opportunity as well. You have to embrace that.
It would be amazing. Because you're like, all right, now it's my turn. And that's, your chance to go for it, and not be a shadow. But Donovan Jackson, actually, I think we need to mention him. He's reached out to us to coordinate dinners for the group, for them to come in and eat together.
Well, Jay-Z's been paying for it for years, so I think
I'd always call my dad hey, is it cool if I do this on the credit card? All right, cool. Round of shots.
It was before NIL.
Yeah.
And so that would Oh, Mr. Zwick, poor guy.
Bill Zwick.
He was
Bill Zwick was the first
NIL.
collective.
Yeah,
He was.
literally. But I give a lot of props to kids that coordinate that. I know what it's like as a mom trying to coordinate, groups moms getting together, or the kids getting together. And so to take the time to do that for his entire, team or part of,
Position group, yeah.
Yeah. It was it's nice. And I like that he takes the initiative to do it.
Well, if he comes on Tuesday, he can save a little money because he can get appetizer Thursday, which this week, Jay-Z, what do we got right here?
Well, we got some delicious curly fries, I like to call those, with yummy cheese sauce and bacon, which is 3 of my favorite things.
Yep.
Potatoes, cheese, bacon. If you had a cup of ranch right here,
Or the spicy ranch.
What about
the spicy ranch? Oh, golly.
Oh, yeah. That would be really good with those.
Get in here, get some of these.
And just a
Cheesy
reminder,
fries.
we're closed on Memorial Day so that our team can be with their families, but we'll be here on Tuesday recording.
We will be back next Tuesday.
Yes.
We're expecting another guest to join in for that show.
These guys are just getting all sorts of people come in.
I'm not going to have a seat here soon. Golly.
I know, me either. It's okay.
There is no show without Justin.
And nothing is promised. There's no.
You never know.
We're not even guaranteed tomorrow. We can't promise about next Tuesday.
Oh,
wow.
I thought, what happened to optimistic?
We're all going to
die.
die.
Now he's just dropping the mortality on us.
Yeah.
Are we all going to die?
Yes.
Yes.
Hopefully not tomorrow.
You know what we
But
should
I don't
do, though?
want to think about
Let's
it.
take a break.
Time for a break.
Catch our breaths.
It might be our last break.
It might be our last breath.
That's true.
Take a deep one. I don't know.
Okay. We are going to take a break.
All right.
We're going to come back. And I guess I can't promise, but we're expecting a guest to be joining us on the other side. Thank you to Nicole Cox and Justin Zwick again for hanging out with us. I know there's going to be another show. I just believe
there will be, yes.
And it'll be back here at Roosters next Tuesday after Memorial Day. It's a fun, casual joint.
Roosters has been so fortunate. We just want to be able to give some of that back to the community.
They donate to organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long time.
They will always go above and beyond to help support our foundation to further help veterans.
It's just a wonderful feeling to know that Roosters supports the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Welcome back into the Horseshoe Lounge at Roosters. This is a fun, casual joint, and it is a fun, casual conversation now with Lathan Ransom, the Ohio State safety. Nice enough to come hang out with us. And Lathan, you've been on a little bit of a mini media tour. You're hanging out with Bob and Morning Juice. I didn't know that some of this media stuff was up your alley that you really want to get into it.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've always wanted to do. When I first got to college, something I was very interested in, just being so focused on football and wanted to have a success that I've luckily had a little bit of. Kind of hard to do both at the same time, but got a little free time now. I'll actually be on Morning Juice tomorrow, so I'll be back there. So it's all exciting, man.
Why does it interest you so much?
I think me and my pops and my mom growing up, you always see, especially basketball, like a lot of basketball players will eventually become analysts and then eventually be like, you got Shaq and their show. Like, man, that show looks like a lot of fun. And then a lot of football players you're seeing now do it as well. And I think it's just when you're watching the football games, you don't really get to see, especially since we have helmet on, our personality, and you don't get to know us that well. So I think now I'm just trying to start early and give me a little foundation to where I can get in front of a camera, get some practice in, and also get to show people watching a little bit of my personality.
Do you think, like, obviously when you chose Ohio State, you weren't thinking about this stuff, so you probably weren't thinking about Kirk Herbstreit and Joey Galloway and Robert Smith and
maybe you was. There's a big display.
Yeah, I was
going
to say actually, that was a big recruiting point. Is kind of also told them my interest in media, and they just talked about, man, basically all the connections that the Buckeyes have, and you come here, you'll be able to meet with so many people, which I've been able to do, man, and it's been great. It's been a blessing.
Is it when you get a chance, because obviously it's Saturdays, you're not watching game day, you're not watching, I mean, maybe if you guys are playing a night game, maybe you sit around and watch it. Do you find yourself getting annoyed at, like, the media members who went to other schools and how they talk? because maybe I'm wrong, but it feels
you're
like
talking about one in particular.
It feels like to me that, like, Kirk Herbstreit, for example, and even Joey Galloway, I mean, they try very hard to be unbiased. They try to be objective. And then there are media members from other schools who do not try to be unbiased. And it seems as though it's intentional. And I wonder, like, do you guys sit around and go, man, if I ever see that dude, I'm not going to talk. I will bite my thumb at you or whatever.
Yeah, I think first of all, the people that can go on there and not be biased and be as unbiased as they can, I got so much respect for them, because it is hard at times. Even when, like you said, sometimes like I'm watching a game and I see someone be biased, or even I see a Buckeye do something good or bad, I'm like, if I'm watching and I'm narrating and I'm talking about the game, you want to praise the Buckeyes and you don't want to praise some of these other teams. But I think that just comes with the professionalism when you're doing it, is you got to be as unbiased as possible. And I respect the dudes that go up there every day and continue to be unbiased.
That's why I think it'd be easier to cover the NFL.
Yeah.
Because it sort of forces you to have to be a little bit removed from, like, your alma mater. Like, here's AJ Hawk on TV right in front of us, right?
Yeah.
There's Buckeyes everywhere. It's been a busy offseason, right? I mean, you've been all over the place. You were on the Buckeye Cruise, right? You did what else did you do this offseason? Obviously, spring ball came.
Yep.
You didn't participate in a lot of the stuff as you continued your rehab. What was the best part of this offseason for you?
I think, first of all, the best part of this offseason was first when we all came together, all the dudes that decided to come back, we all decided to come back. And no one was 1 foot in out the door, one out the other. Everyone decided to come back and put all their energy into coming back and being the best team we can be this year. So that was definitely the first thing that I really liked. And the Buckeye Cruise was a great opportunity, man, to go out there, help raise money, help meet people and build connections and relationships. And I appreciate Ohio State and the Buckeye Cruise for even accepting me on that, because I had a lot of fun, man, and I would love to go back. So I think those are the two things. But other than that, man, I've been here. I've been here in the great state of Ohio.
we heard a lot about the wing eating contest on the cruise. Did you participate, and which sauce did you have to tap out at?
So I did participate. I didn't really have a choice.
Denzel, right? Denzel forced this.
Yeah, so Denzel went first, and then I went next. We ate the second hottest wing. We took one bite, and that whole day they didn't see me for the rest of the day on the cruise. I mean, I was drinking milk. I'm doing everything I can do. I was done. I tapped out. I don't know how anyone does them wing eating challenges. I'm sweating. My mouth's hot. I can't talk. I can't eat. I didn't eat nothing for the rest of the day, and I laid in my room just with a stomach ache.
So when you come to Roosters, normally, where do you top out?
I'm a mild guy. Like I don't go more than mild.
He's getting the new Parmesan garlic on the test menu.
Yeah, the new Parmesan garlic.
This sicko goes to the very bottom.
I go nuclear.
Oh, it's at the top.
I go nuclear, but I mix it with the honey barbecue.
Yeah, see, I don't know. Y'all don't even enjoy y'all food.
I do.
he cries while he's eating it. He likes to tell me that he's got sweat coming from his eyes.
It is sweat. It's not tears. I'm also just I'm an emotional person.
I got you.
But I also get emotional about good hot food.
Okay,
That's
Lathan,
because I lived in Arizona, because I lost my taste buds when I lived there.
Okay.
And
you burned them off.
So, I think there's this thing called desert fever. See, he doesn't know about
See, that's the thing is like in Arizona, it's already so hot. So why would I want to eat hot wings to be even hotter? Like I'm already sweating.
I lost my taste buds, and I think that I must have had something that happened, and so now I can really only eat like taste food if I'm like crazy hot.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the hot, but I enjoy some, the flavors like mild, garlic, Korean barbecue. All those are great flavors. So I'm eating all those flavors, but
just halfway.
When it comes to the hot though, that's not for me. But some people love it. So,
Lathan, you talked about the group of you veterans that wanted to stick around and had the option to go to the NFL and come back. We talked with Jack Sawyer last week, and we've talked with all you guys about how we made our decisions individually. Everyone had to do what was best for them. But it did feel like there was some sort of collective brotherhood stuff gets maybe overused a little bit, but that you all understood the similarity in your situations.
Yep.
When did that decision for you become clear that you needed to come back, wanted to come back, however you want to put it? And then when did you get the vibe that like, whoa, everybody's doing this?
I think the biggest thing for me was definitely not being able to play in the Team Up North game. That was definitely the hardest thing for me to watch, just because of all year that's the game. That's the only game I cared about. That's the only game I cared about. That's the only game I wanted to play in. And then for it to get taken away from me was definitely hard. And then being able to just having to watch my brothers play and not being able to participate was hard. So that was definitely the first one. Even though I was still considering it, that was then. And then just to watch how the season ended against Missouri, it just didn't sit right with me. It just really didn't sit right with me. And then, talking to my family and stuff, obviously, my biggest dream is to play at the next level, and just being so close, it is hard to come back. But just knowing that I haven't accomplished my goals. I haven't accomplished my goals here yet, and I haven't left the legacy that I want to leave yet. So just knowing that made it an easy decision. Looking at it from the outside in.
What did you feel like anybody took a more active role in trying to we give Jack a lot of credit. He was vocal about his intent to come back and wanting to get guys. What was your input with the other guys? How much did you want to say, hey, let's just do this? I haven't accomplished this. You haven't accomplished this. How much did you want to be in part of other guys' decisions? What did you feel like your responsibility was in that?
I feel like my responsibility was just giving my opinion on what we haven't accomplished yet. But at the end of the day, I would never I wanted everyone to make the decision for themselves. And I think that just makes it so much better that everyone made the decisions for themselves. If I'm over here forcing and begging someone to come back, it just doesn't feel real. So the fact that, like you said, I think the brotherhood stuff, like you guys said, sometimes might get thrown around, but I think this is the biggest example of the brotherhood, especially since I've been here, that everyone made their own decision without being persuaded to come back for a bigger purpose than just themselves. But I think obviously Denzel being probably my closest friend, obviously me and him talked about coming back together, and I think me and him talking together about coming back and accomplishing something bigger was definitely something that happened.
Denzel was leaving a lot more clues out there. I want to be a top 10 pick. Well, okay, you're not right now. I want to do this. Okay, well, you haven't done that. Nobody wants to ruin your moments and your announcements, but it's like Denzel made it about as clear as anybody possibly could have, and Jack was doing a lot of that too. We were really unsure publicly about what was going on with your mind and your process, but there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah, but what's exciting is now Denzel gets to come back and he will accomplish all those things. So
obviously, Lathan, you are ostensibly ready to go, healthy, 100%, right? Yep. You still took it easy this spring as you've earned with how many reps you played over the last couple of years. But what did you gain out of this spring? And from you just taking a step back and watching, maybe getting some more mental reps, just working on rehab. How did that help you? But also, how does the addition of Caleb Downs help your job? And how excited are you to play next to Caleb this season?
Yeah, so first of all, for me, it was a time for me to, exactly like you said, get a lot of mental reps. And with bringing in Coach G back, man, I was meeting with Coach G every day. I'm talking before the early spring practices, me and him meeting in there for an hour. After the spring practice, we come back, meet for hours, just trying to become, like he talked about, a second coach on the field. That was my goal, just to learn as much as I can, and I'm going to continue to do that until we get into fall camp and such, because of the great relationship we built. And then by bringing Caleb in, man, it's just so exciting because I've been blessed to have Rocket, have Proc, have Sean Way, safeties and DBs like that I've constantly been able to compete with since I've been here, and it's made me a better player and a better person. So now bringing in Caleb Downs is another great DB to come in with, help BI as a whole, and then someone I get to compete with every day. And that's something I was super excited for, and I can't wait for it to continue.
When Ohio State brings in somebody like Caleb Downs, Lathan, like, we know what the brotherhood is, and it's entrenched there at the top, and all these veterans come back. They're the key, driving unit of this team. How long does the process take to initiate, for lack of a better word, somebody into that group, and when do they start feeling comfortable? Because there's a perception out there that Ohio State added like 30 guys in the portal, which they did not. It's like 6 guys with Quinshawn, Will Howard, Caleb Downs trying to get in there and get in the mix with you, Seth McLaughlin. Like, how long does that take when you have new teammates trying to get to know guys who've been playing together now going into their 4th year?
Yeah, so luckily Ohio State did a great job recruiting, because the guys they brought in, they fit in perfectly. They fit in with the culture. They bought into the culture. I think that's just the biggest thing is as soon as they buy into the culture, they're going to fit in. And no dudes struggled with that. They bought into the culture. They required, worked as hard as they could. And then, for an example, Caleb, he was someone that, like I said, I'm meeting extra. He's meeting just as much as me. So me and him are constantly meeting as much as we can. And you just see how hard he works. It makes you just want to just hang out with him as much as you can. And then obviously he fits into to BI. So I think just bringing in dudes like that made it easy transition for all of them.
Did you get a chance to know him during his first recruiting process at all? Like, I visited a couple times.
Yeah, I think actually Cam was his host on one of the officials. So I got to talk to him a little bit. I didn't get to know him that well, but I know Jordan Hancock and him kind of grew up in the same area and knew each other really well. So, no, but he came in, man, and he fits in perfect, and now he's a great friend of mine.
Do you get sick? And I have to ask this now because he brought up the transfers and the numbers and people acting like when Ohio State does something, it's wrong. If other schools do it, it's like, man, they're really moving hard in the right direction. Like, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. My biggest thing on the transfer portal is this is my perspective on this. People want to get mad for dudes transferring in. If you look at it from a coach's standpoint, if a coach gets another opportunity to go somewhere, they're going to take it just like that. And that's no hard against them. I get happy for them because that's just the business. That's just how the business works. So people get mad at these players for transferring and going for better opportunities or going to different places. The coaches are going to do the same thing. So why can't the players have the opportunity to do that?
Ole Miss, I think, brought in like 15 transfers, and everyone's complaining that you guys brought in 6. And of those 6, Caleb, Seth, and Julian only happened because Nick Saban retired out of the blue, right? So, like, you guys really were it was like 3 guys coming in.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't even pay attention to none of the other teams.
We'll do it for you, we will be pissed off.
Firm's over here just trying to get you to cause trouble. Desmond Howard and Ole Miss.
Yeah, I could care less what the other team's doing. I just worry about the Buckeyes, man.
So we know Denzel went for a couple of weeks to go back to Arizona. You said, you told us when you came in that you decided to stick around for the last few weeks. When you guys have that option, like, what you're weighing your choices? Could I go home for a little bit, see the family? What made you want to stick around? What was the thought process there?
I mean, for me, like we said, I come back with certain goals that I want to achieve, and it's just business for me. Like, this year is straight business, so I got stuff that I want to achieve and handle, and I'm going to do that. So I come back to obviously continue my treatment with Stu, work with Stu every day, work with AT, get some speed work in, get in the weight room, just staying in shape and trying to be in better shape to where when we start up right now, there's no transition. I'm already in shape and want to continue to work on my body, work on my foot, work on as much as I can to be the best player that I can be when fall comes. And that's what I'm putting all my time and effort into doing.
In the early part of our show today, I mentioned that, despite the fact you guys return a lot of leadership, there was also a lot of guys that were leaders that are gone. The Cade Stovers, the Tommy Eichenbergs, the Julian Fleming, even Chip Trainham, guys that maybe people don't on the outside don't think about as leaders, but inside they were the hardest working guys in the weight room. Yourself being one of those guys that stuck around here, have you seen other guys that are making that next step with you?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to say, like you said, Tommy, Cade, Julian, all those dudes, they had a huge impact on me. And someone once told me is the biggest thing about being a leader is how much of an impact are you going to leave when you're gone. So as a leader, that's my goal is this year to leave a big impact when I'm gone. And just like them is that hard work and that grit and everything that they brought that's what we're trying to continue. That doesn't just leave when they leave. It's our job and as all of our leaders to continue that. So I think, like you said, all the leaders, obviously, like you said, Jack, JT, I think Tyleek has stepped up really big. And I think that's the first one that comes off my head. Tyleek, even Caleb, IGB, dudes like that are stepping up to become leaders. Jordan Hancock. So just seeing them step up, man, is really exciting. And just knowing how much talent we have on the team, but how much leadership we have on the team. And I just can't wait to put that football down.
It is wild, Lathan. You just rattled off all of those. You and everybody else that you said are proven all Big Ten, all conference caliber performers who've been in big games, and you still have an opportunity to do it again. Like, let's set aside what may have happened, in November of the last couple of years. Like, there's a few teams in the country that have that amount of veteran guys who've been through multiple off seasons, multiple years, hundreds and hundreds of snaps. It's got to feel like different in some ways to be around that many people who know how to handle their business and have been doing it for a long time. You know what I mean? Like that's a rare thing in college football that you went through the whole starting defense pretty much outside of replacing Tommy and Steele. You guys all know the system. You all know what's required to get to the top. Like that's got to be fun, challenging, pressurized. I don't know the word for it. But
yeah, I think it's very exciting just knowing how much time we have, how much veterans and leadership that we have. But at the end of the day, it's really nice to talk about, oh, look at the roster, look at the team. But at the end of this year, all we want to do is just handle business and achieve our goals. Like, it's nice to talk on social media how great our team looks, but it looked great until you lose. So that's our goal this year is not to pay too much to the outside noise, man, and just strap our helmets on, be quiet and go win games.
Speaking of looking great, a couple weeks ago we did our Buck 9. This is our golf thing that we did with Denzel Burke, and Denzel mentioned that he was the best dresser on the team. And so he mentioned you as maybe the other guy on the roster that could challenge him as far as having a fashion sense.
Yeah.
So I want to know if you agree with his assessment, number one, or if you in fact feel like you're a better dresser. But number two, are you concerned that no one's going to confuse you for Cam Martinez anymore, or do you just immediately grab Miles Lockhart and make him follow you around?
I think first of all, I think you were the only one who confused me for Cam Martinez.
No way, me.
But I think Miles Lockhart definitely looks more like Cam than I look. But
you and Jordan look more alike than
the
you
number
and Cam.
one Cam Martinez fan in the entire
This is
world.
the number one. This is the biggest Cam Martinez fan I ever met in my life.
I
But
promise
as he
you,
deserves.
I would never have confused you guys. You look more like Jordan Hancock than you and Jordan look more alike than you and Cam did.
I think there's a lot of dudes on the team that we could say, look, I think
But
light skins all look alike. That's I think that
Miles and Cam, it is eerie. At the spring game, I was like, that's Cam Martinez out there.
Hey, if you're trying to give Lathan some pointers and like we're going to give him reps for media, don't ask two completely separate questions.
No, I mean that's the way I roll.
I think first of all, if Denzel was sitting here right now with me, he would tell you that I dress better than him. Denzel has good fashion. I think.
Oh, he was only saying that because you weren't around.
Exactly. He does great with his jewelry and accessories. I think he does good with that. But there's categories to it, and I'm gonna name the three best dressed on the team is me, Davidson, and Carnell Tate. Those are the three best dudes on the team. That's our category. There's other dudes that dress well, but
what is there a
was
genre?
Marv number one last year? Or no?
Yeah, Marv dresses
just
well.
because he's in a different classification. Like
I think Marv dresses well. But with the team this year, I think it's me, IGB, and Carnell Tate as the top three, and then Denzel as 4. But I think Denzel dresses really well, though. I think his accessories are really nice. But
I'm having visions of not like you remember MTV Cribs, of course.
Yeah.
But what if you guys?
Why,
did,
of course, like
because he watched it.
I watched
MTV was already like done by the time Lathan.
Cribs was still around. What if you guys have what's that show on Bravo? You know, the fashion show with the one guy. It's old.
That show on Bravo?
It's old. Well, like, what if you guys had a show
thinks
where
that I
you
watch
went
Bravo, Lathan?
Yeah, I don't watch Bravo, so I was waiting for you to say something.
I watch Married at First Sight on Bravo, and
so why don't you
Southern
know
Charm.
what it's called?
Because I didn't watch that show. I only watched Southern Charm on Bravo.
What kind of show are you talking?
You know, like a fashion show.
I see what you're saying.
Like if you guys took the worst dressers on the team and had a show where you took them out to the local, what are those places called where you go buy clothes?
Malls.
Stores.
Yeah.
And you like
stores.
and you went out and you were like, let's call someone out. Who's the worst dresser on the team?
I'm not calling anyone out, but okay, we pick the worst dresser on the team. We take them out. I think that would be
offense. It's got to be an offensive lineman.
Content
probably offensive lineman.
That's content people would watch. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean, we had the right media team with us. I think that'd be a cool opportunity. If you guys want to do that, we could do this.
We can do it.
He tried to get you and Cam to do a podcast last year.
Yeah, I know. It's just how guys it is. It's so busy and stuff. But
if I have to watch the Ohio State media team sit in front of Donnie Zenmahalski and who else was with those guys? Just eating food.
Oh, Tyleek, yeah.
Like if I have to watch that, I'd much rather watch you guys, show someone how to style it up.
I think that would actually be. I haven't put too much thought into that, but yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
Okay,
we got to set that up.
I'll hit up Pursuit.
Yeah,
they did the offensive line stuff last year to try and help them out, and then the podcast. We'll get that done. It's hosted by Lathan and not Denzel Burke, who's apparently
Denzel should be my host with me. I think, like you said, me, Denzel, Cardinell, IGB. I think that's a. We'll get anyone dressed well. I think that I don't think anyone will dress someone better than we would.
Boy, that is going to be. I was going to ask Lathan.
Can we start with you guys dressing Austin?
Yeah, we could. We could definitely do that. I mean, hey, I'm rocking with the Roosters shirt right now, though. That's a great touch. I'm not hating on that. That's a great touch.
What is your problem with the way I dress, man? If you stay ready for golf, you don't have to get ready for golf.
All right.
I was going to ask Lathan if any podcast what he thinks that it would be non-football related that he would like to bring to the table, but then we already just decided on clothes and fashion.
Actually, I have a podcast that's like my dream in the future. Obviously, have a great NFL career, and then when I finish, is to have a podcast with my pops, and just to have me as the young generation, him as the older generation, and kind of talk about where it's sports, music, all types of stuff. Because we have great conversations all the time, but I think it'd be very entertaining for the two different generations to bump heads like we do all the time. And that's my dream podcast.
What do you think of CJ becoming the world's CJ Stroud becoming the world's most popular person?
Oh, he's killing it. Him and Micah Parsons, man, they're killing it. I'm so happy for him.
Well, he's killing Micah Parsons.
No, they're doing so good. I mean, they go so well together. They're entertainment for sure. And I think everything CJ's achieving and doing, man, he deserves. I wouldn't wish anyone else to have it. So I'm so happy for him.
Berm, you got anything else?
No, I just appreciate you coming, and it is valuable, and I think that something that you guys, especially because you're the class of 2020, you guys came in and right at the start of NIL and are able to be the actual examples of what it can be used for in the right way, as opposed to some of the stuff we've seen in the last couple of years where stuff gets crazy. But we really do appreciate you giving us this opportunity, because you did great, and I'm gonna wake.
He always does think about.
I'm gonna wake up and listen to the Juice tomorrow.
As you guys should.
That's not on where I live, so I can't do it.
Well, you can actually stream that on YouTube. As another place that
stream the Juice on YouTube.
As another place that signs my checks and hopefully Lathan's. You don't let Bobby be forcing you to do that for free. But I think about that, you've always been willing to go out there and get those media reps and deal with some of us dating back to when we first met you. That was in 2019 before the Fiesta Bowl, when you came out on your own way to the Camelback to sit out there, chat with us a little bit by that basketball court.
5 years ago. Can you believe that?
That feels like it was 10 years ago to me. So I can't imagine what it feels like for you. You've probably done enough interviews since then that you forgot all about that one. But, are you asking Jerry, forcing him to get on that travel roster to go to Big Ten Media Days in July?
I'm not asking Jerry for nothing, but Jerry is definitely someone that helps me with all the media, and all the time. If I have an interview, he'll tell me, man, you did good, or you should work on this, and he's constantly just helping me perfect my craft, man. So I can't appreciate Jerry enough.
Yeah, there's a lot of competition to go there in July and get those headlines for Ohio State.
I have one last question.
Okay, I knew you did.
Denzel said, natty or bust. Do you feel that?
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, that's an easy question. I think we all came back for one goal, and if we don't achieve that goal, I feel like that we failed. So, obviously our first goal is to beat the team of North, though. Don't get it twisted. The natty is obviously a goal that we have, but we got one goal first, and once we handle that, then we can handle the other ones.
Isn't it wild how they're truly separate goals now? That's a whole nother show, I guess. But I know that is the one that's most important. You guys want the gold pants, but you could also achieve another one without even doing that, and that's just a bizarre situation that's never existed really for any other Ohio State players. But
yeah, that's my one goal right now. All I think about is being team on North, and other stuff will handle stuff later.
Yeah, all right, that's how it should be. We greatly appreciate Lathan Ransom giving us some time on a Monday in the Horseshoe Lounge at Roosters. Thanks to Jay-Z and Nicole Cox for having us down here as well. Appreciate Berm. I'm just Austin Warbley, back here again. Not in Memorial Day on Monday. We'll be back the next day, Tuesday, anticipating another Ohio State guest for that one. So stay tuned. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.